Thank you, Mr. Deputy President. And I would make the same disclosure as the Honourable Cameron Murphy about being a renter, but I am fearful that while, of course, the opposition supports this bill, that it will have limited effect in actually making rental properties more affordable. My colleague, the Shadow Minister, has already explained the shambolic way in which this bill has been spoken about and now introduced, very different to what the government had originally proposed. And I do note that they are breaking a promise in introducing the bill in this manner. The secret rent bidding that they proposed is actually not contained in this bill. And while I certainly support the rental bond transfer, I think that that is a really helpful way to assist renters in their mobility between properties. The reality is that this actually doesn't do much to increase the necessary supply that we need to ensure that people have a place to live. I note that the Liberals, when we were in the election, proposed a number of measures that we would have introduced if we were in government, including a reasonable grounds model for eviction, to extend the notice period from 30 to 45 days, to have a new optional lease agreement length from 3 to 5 years in its term. A rental bond rollover scheme is something that we also proposed, and also regulating the information that is collected and stored in the rental application process. So I would say that there are many similarities in the approach that both major parties took to the election. So naturally, we're not opposing this bill, but drawing attention to the shambolic way in which it has been delivered, and it is an abject failure. And also to note that so much more needs to be done if we are actually to address the core issue here, which is a shortage of homes for people to live in. The Minister, in his second reading speech in the other place, he noted that he wanted to bring New South Wales into line with the other states and territories across Australia. And while I think that it is very useful to have a regulatory system in Australia that is uniform broadly, where it works and actually provides some benefit to the citizens of the different states and territories, I will note that in April 2023, Domain released findings about vacancy rates across Australia. They found that vacancy rates overall are 0.8%. In Sydney, we have 1%. Melbourne, 0.9%. Adelaide, 0.4%. Hobart, 1.1%. And Canberra, 1.7%. In Brisbane, it is 0.7% and 0.4%. So actually, we have slightly greater vacancy rates than most of the other states and territories. And I think when we're talking about the benefits of policies and the value of bringing them into line with other states and territories, we need to have an understanding of why that actually benefits the people of New South Wales. And I suggest that it certainly doesn't achieve that aim in this instance. It's really about what will actually help. Unit rents are expected to increase 15% and houses by 13% in the coming years. So what is the underlying problem? It is about a shortage of homes. We need real solutions to this shortage. It is expected that 314,000 homes, new homes, will need to be built in the next 5 years to improve the situation that many renters and aspirational homeowners find themselves in today. I again suggest that this bill will not go very far at all in actually helping those renters. And what we've seen is that the government are actually relying on the Greens for some of their policy. We had a motion yesterday about short-term rental agreements, and those short-term rental environments actually having a really negative effect on the properties available for a long-term rent. and the Greens have put forward a motion to investigate how that short-term rental market can be better regulated. And I think that that kind of investigation is the kind of investigation we need to see from the government, alas. Something further that I have suggested in this place is to conduct a vacancy and dwelling use audit, because if we are actually to address this issue in the short term, we need to understand what the environment is. What are dwellings actually being used for? Are they lying empty? Are they being used for short-term rental? Are they being filled? Are they at capacity? I mean, we know from organisations like Shelter New South Wales that there are many properties in Sydney and Greater Sydney that are being used by large families, multi-generational families, living in 2-3 bedroom homes with many people in one bedroom. And we need to understand that there are a range of problems with the rental market, and to better understand the solutions that can be provided, we should conduct an audit. We should understand what the actual landscape is, because at the moment, what we rely on really is the ABS census data. And honestly, it's entirely inadequate for the kinds of policies that we should be developing in this place. The ABS census happens usually for every 4 years. The last one was delayed by 1 year because of COVID. It found that vacancies were around 10%, but of course, the actual compiling of that data and the way that data is collected means that it is not an accurate representation of how dwellings are actually used in the medium to long term. It is simply on the night that the census is conducted, if that person or family is home or not. I mean, they could be out visiting grandma, they could be at a birthday party, they could be in their holiday home. It essentially, the census is not designed to gather data specifically for this purpose of understanding the true vacancy rate that exists across Australia and in New South Wales. So I again suggest that the government seriously consider conducting an audit. I mean, there are many ways that have been proposed and that are utilised overseas to actually understand how dwellings are being used. It can be self-reporting mechanisms. It can be water usage mechanisms. There are so many data sets that we have, and organisations or government bodies, including the Productivity Commission, the Audit Office, Fair Trading, all have incredible data sets that cover the breadth of New South Wales that can be effectively compiled to give us a much more accurate understanding of what our housing situation looks like in New South Wales. And truly, that is a fundamental part of ensuring that our policy is effective, that it is actually treating the problems that we are having. And honestly, it may reveal that we are able to increase our capacity and increase supply without even lifting a shovel. And that is a fundamental part of our policy making, that it not just be focused on the long term. We know that properties can take some time to build, of course, but that we are looking at solutions in the short term as well, because people are feeling the crunch today. People are lining up in suburbs around Sydney, or in regional areas, desperate to find a home, and they are trying to do the best that they can to get through all the regulations, to apply, to wait, to, of course, get their bond money together. But if there is simply a shortage, that is something that they are not able to overcome as individuals. So we do need to be looking at those short-term solutions to diagnose not only the problem, but come up with effective solutions. So I again say that naturally we are supporting this bill, but it has been so problematic for the renters of New South Wales to see that this is a broken election promise so early in the government's term. It may be a sign of things to come, but when we are looking at a market that has got a fundamental supply issue, we need to be looking at policies that increase choice, that increase the ability of people to be able to rent if they want to buy their own home if they want to understand the landscape in which they exist. I mean, there may be vacancies in greater numbers in certain areas of New South Wales than others. This is where we need to actually understand the problem first and then make solutions. But for the moment, we're relying on the Greens, and I put forward my policy as well to actually diagnose the problem. So I've made my allegiance very clear, and that is to a Liberal government that is about improving the choice. It is about improving the choice of people, absolutely with conviction, because we need to improve the choice of people to not only be able to rent, but to be able to own their own home as well, to be able to support the development of new homes across New South Wales, not just supported by government housing, but also by the private investment that is absolutely critical to the development of this economy, to the productivity of this state, and to the choice of the people of New South Wales.
Thank you.